We're going to get things started. I'd like to introduce our department chair, Dr. Ashfaq Hokar.
Good morning, everyone. I am delighted to see so many friends, colleagues, and students. Welcome you all to this historic event of establishing the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering Hall of Fame here at Iowa State University. Since the department's inception in 1909, our faculty, staff, students, and alumni have pioneered some of the most renowned modern era technologies and have made this world a better place through their leadership, service, and innovation. Through this Hall of Fame, the department endeavors to spotlight the impact of this faculty and alumni. It is an effort to forever preserve the history of their contributions and letting it stand to inspire the future generation of engineering leaders. The process to select the inaugural class of this Hall of Fame was an arduous journey. Thanks to the ad hoc Hall of Fame selection committee led by Dr. Diane Rover and to the College of Engineering development team led by Ryan Harms, who helped determine the criteria, sifted through the alumni databases, internet repositories, and used personal contact lists to consider thousands of alumni and faculty for possible nomination. All this followed by multiple rounds of shortlisting. In the end, we have selected an outstanding inaugural class of 32 alumni and faculty. Each one of the awardees has a unique career and a profound personal and professional journey. Each one of them has made transformational and impactful contributions to our society. In this group, we have trailblazers, we have technology icons, we have pioneers, trendsetters, outstanding educators, first female EE graduate from Iowa State in 1935, who was also the first female engineer hired by GE. Congressional Medal and Purple Heart winner, Naval Ship Appenum, National Academy of Engineering members, and the list goes on. Several of them had all the odds set against them, but they prevailed and forever opened the opportunities for the generations to come. Unfortunately, in my opinion, we are starting this Hall of Fame a tad bit late. 18 of the 32 inductees have left us from this world, and we will have posthumous induction for them. May their souls rest in peace, thanks to their family members and support for and enthusiasm, and for joining us here in this event. Once the inaugural class was selected, setting up this Hall of Fame event was in itself a mammoth effort. From the start till today, it took us almost a year and a half. First of all, thanks to Sarah and Kristen for their tireless efforts to make this concept a reality. However, at the end, it is due to the collective efforts of ECPE faculty, staff, and students that we are here today to celebrate the accomplishments of our alumni and colleagues. We welcome you all, and we aspire to be good hosts during this time. Please do not hesitate to lean on us while you are hearing names. It will be our honor and privilege to make your visit and stay as comfortable and as memorable as possible. In the end, let me say that we are a 100-plus-year-old department and have a long list of very accomplished alumni and faculty. By no means our selection was exhaustive or perfect. I'm sure we have missed a lot of great colleagues and profession mates. There are several more unsung heroes, according to one alumnus, some wheel horses, who should be recognized. This is just the beginning of this tradition. Moving forward, we plan to induct each year, albeit a smaller class. We have a formal nomination process, and using an online system or in writing, nomination can be made throughout the year. Please help us locate our treasures. Once again, from Iowa State University, and particularly on behalf of ECPE, faculty, staff, and students, I welcome you all. Thank you so much. Let me now request our latest and newest dean, Dean Sammy Sterling, to share his remarks. Dr. Easterling joined Iowa State in July of this year as James L. and Catherine S. Melser Dean of College of Engineering, after a distinguished career as head of Charles E. Via Junior Civil and Environmental Engineering and the Montague Betts Professor of Structural Steel Design at Virginia Tech. Without further ado, Dr. Sammy Sterling.
Good morning. That's pretty good. I'm impressed. So thank you, Ashfaq. Kind words of introduction. I'm so very pleased to be here today. This inaugural ceremony is really a wonderful tradition that we're beginning. And for those of you coming back after some extended period, certainly extend a welcome back to Iowa State University in Cyclone Country. It feels a bit strange for me to be saying that. I've only been here myself 3 months, so it's very fresh, and I'm enjoying being back as well. And what an honor it is for us to honor you. We believe that, we hope that you certainly view this as a distinct honor to be part of this inaugural class of the Electrical and Computer Engineering Hall of Fame. These awards come, from our perspective, certainly with great prestige, and we're extremely proud of the accomplishments, successes, and discoveries, careers that you all have had. Iowa State is a very special place. I certainly don't need to tell you that, but I like saying it. It's a land-grant institution with a long history of serving Iowans, our country, and indeed the world. Your recognition here today demonstrates the dedication you have shown as an engineering leader, a scholar, a professional. As Iowa State alumni, former faculty members, you all make us proud. This department's a prestigious, very prestigious program with a long history of innovation. Let's just look at a few of those examples that we're going to be recognizing here today. And as I say, just a few. Groundbreaking applications in personal computers, fax machines, and telephones. Developing new MRI applications. Creation of the first electronic digital computer in the world. Pioneering computer hardware for virtual reality. Working on the, working on the Manhattan Project and development of the Alvin research submarine. And celebrating the first female graduates, both as bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, and PhDs in electrical engineering at Iowa State. We also know that many of you and your family members have served in the military, and we thank you for your service and patriotism. I want to end by congratulating all of the inductees here today and the families who are here to represent them. And thank you to Ashfaq Kukar and his committee for their leadership in developing the ECP Hall of Fame. This is a grand new tradition for ECPE as well as the College of Engineering. Thank you.
Did you? Good morning. We are going to start. I'll give you a little idea of how things are going to go. The faculty or the student or the staff member that is presenting will come down. They will say a few remarks. The inductee or the person, their family member, will come down, step up on the stage, have a photograph taken with their plaque, and then come to the podium and say whatever they would like to say. Okay? I'd like to first introduce Vic Delal.
I have the honor of presenting the first award to Clifford Berry. Unfortunately, Clifford is not with us. Clifford Berry made invented one of the three most important inventions of the last century. Along with John Atanasoff, he built the world's first digital computer when he was a graduate student in this department. And he got a MS, PhD, BS from EE, and then MS and PhD from physics. And he was a tinkerer by the time he was 11, and he went on to become the co-inventor of the world's first electronic digital computer. When he was at Iowa State College, he worked with John Atanasoff, and they built the first computer in 1940. Can you imagine that? The first computer. People didn't realize. I didn't know that the first computer was built at Iowa State until I came here, because I always thought that it was at University of Pennsylvania. Not true. It was built here. The faculty from University of Pennsylvania came here, learned, and built there. This early invention led to the development of computers people use around the world today. Barry received ISU's highest honor, the Distinguished Achievement Citation, the first time it had been given posthumously. Barry also worked in a defense-related position for Consolidated Engineering, where he progressively rose up to become a technical director. Thank you.
So, unfortunately, no one from Clifford Barry's family we were able to connect. So we will just have the plaque accepted by Dr. Victor Lal.
I also have the honor to present the second award to Thomas Whitney. And Tom Whitney also made a major invention. He was the project engineer in charge of the world's first pocket calculator, the HP 35. I remember that. I remember buying HP 35 in 1972 or 1973. It actually had LEDs, didn't have LCDs. It had red LEDs. And my company, the company that I worked for, it cost $395. The company said they will pay half and we pay half. And virtually every scientist there just immediately grabbed the calculator. So then Tom Whitney went on to join the two Steves, Jobs and Wozniak, as one of the first engineers at Apple, where he led the project team that developed world's first mass production personal computer, Apple II. Once again, when I was younger, I was one of the first people to buy the Apple II, saying, yes, this is wonderful. And we used it to instrument, to control a lot of our lab instruments. So Tom Whitney was involved in two major projects. He served as an executive vice president for engineering and helped to develop the Apple II. And unfortunately, he passed away at an early age. But his legacy lives on at Iowa State because after his death, his wife, Donna Whitney, who's here, established the Thomas Whitney Professorship of Electrical and Computer Engineering. So his legacy lives on at Iowa State. Thank you, Donna.
Hang on. Thank you very much. It is actually with great pleasure and also great sadness that I accept this award for Tom. My children are here, Suzanne and Tom, and it was a great trip from California, and we talked a lot about Tom. And even though it has been 33 years, he's in our lives and in our hearts and our memories very strongly all the time. He's been a great father, a great husband, and he he seriously cherished his education at Iowa State. And when he was able to give back to Iowa State, he did. He started funding the foundation before he passed away, and he was in his 40s at the time. He's cherished this university, he's cherished Iowa, and he will be very thankful from heaven that he received this award. Thank you very much.
I'd like to invite Vicki Thorland-Oster, our Manager of Student Services.
I'll say good morning too, but you don't have to respond. It is my pleasure to have Mervyn S. Coover as the inductee. I walk into work every day, I have been for 20 years, and I walk into the Mervyn S. Coover building. And so it's my pleasure to talk about him. He was the department chair from 1935 to 1954. He was associate dean at Iowa State from 1956 to 57, and an acting dean from 1958 to 1959. He served as the department chair of electrical engineering at Iowa State College. He served in World War I, and during World War II, he oversaw ISU's Electrical Naval Training School. Coover was the associate dean of the College of Engineering and the acting dean. He oversaw ISU's merger of the American Institute of Electrical Engineers, AIEE, and the Institute of Radio Engineers, the IRE, and was instrumental in the 1963 national merger of AIEE and IRE into what is now known as IEEE. To honor his service and dedication to the university, the Electrical Engineering Building was renamed Coover Hall in 1969 and remains that way. Mervyn Coover.
Good morning. My name is Christine Anderson. I am the granddaughter of Mervyn Coover. My mom is Martha Coover Anderson. She could not attend today, although she does live here in Ames. So I'm here representing the Coover family. And I just would like to thank everyone that was instrumental in selecting my grandfather for this award. It's a huge, huge honor to the Coover family, and by extension to the Andersons. And again, thank you so much.
Well, it's a tremendous honor to introduce the next member of our ECP Hall of Fame. His honors are numerous and contributions towering. Jim Palmer received the bachelor's in EE in 1944 and went on to serve in World War II as an electronics officer. Later on, he had a short stint at GE and then afterward he came to the helm of a small company of 2 people. That was a cable manufacturing, equipment manufacturing company in State College, which was later known as Secor. An interesting story is that Jim was working at that time 52 hours a week in a full-time job in a different military equipment manufacturing company. And then he started working an additional 42 hours per week as a part-time for this small 2-member company. And then finally he was told that, why don't you join full-time to this second company? So he indeed, took his chances and joined the second company that became Secor. And at that time, company had an equity of minus $10,000. And he went door to door to his neighbors, to his friends, to raise money for that company. And under his leadership, Secor grew from a negative equity of 10,000 to a multi-billion-dollar company and was considered the cable equipment manufacturing giant at that time. He served as the director of the National Cable Television Association. In 1968, he was named as the Cable TV Pioneer, CATV Pioneer. In 1983, he was named to the Pennsylvania Cable Television Hall of Fame. After seeing Secor go public in 1981, Palmer retired from the company as president in 1985. When he passed away in 2001, the news headlines read as, "Palmer, the cable mainstay, dies at 77." Such was the recognition of this trailblazer. Jim was also an avid philanthropist. Jim and Barbara Palmer made numerous donations to Iowa State University and Penn State. He and his wife Barbara were the driving force behind the Palmer Museum of Art on the PSU campus. And I am standing here today, indeed the beneficiary of their philanthropy, and proud to wear the title of Palmer Department Chair of ECPE. Thank you very much, Palmer family. And we are joined here today by Chuck Palmer, Jim's son, and Debbie Palmer, Jim's daughter-in-law, to accept the award. Thank you.
Thank you very much, all of Iowa State University and ASHFAC, for such a thorough history of Jim Palmer's career. I'm Debbie Palmer. I'm his daughter-in-law. My late husband was David Palmer, his son, and this is Chuck, his other son. They also had a daughter who lives in Boston who couldn't be here today. So on behalf of the whole Palmer family, I accept this honor today and very gracious for inducting him into the Hall of Fame. Jim Palmer was a pioneer in the cable television industry, as ASHFAC says, and also telecommunications. I remember in 1970 he was saying, we'll all have an instrument that we carry around with us that has pictures of the people we're talking to. And I said, really? So, you can, every time you turn on your Comcast cable television and take out your cell phones, you can think of Jim Palmer. He would be very, very pleased to be indoctrinated into the Hall of Fame. This was very close to his heart. They did a lot for Penn State. I guess he got his education here and went back to Pennsylvania also. But this was where he really liked to see the research for electrical engineering in his field. You have anything more to it? Thank you.
Well, our next inductee, Dr. Jim Milsa, he's the real deal. He was featured in The Educator for the Real World, led the EC department at Notre Dame as department chair, served as vice president for research at Tel Labs, and then returned to his alma mater, Iowa State University, as the dean of the College of Engineering. He's a complete package, an outstanding researcher, a fierce advocate of overhauling engineering education, and an accomplished administrator. As dean, Dr. Milsa led a transformation of the College of Engineering that included construction of the engineering teaching and research complex, revamping the undergraduate curricula, expanding internships and co-ops, launching the Reach for the Top initiative, aggressively increasing the number of endowed professorships, and expanding research and technology transfer activities. Under his leadership, the college set new records in sponsored funding, and enrollment increased by 20%. Upon his retirement, the Melsas were honored with the creation of the James and Catherine Melsa Professorship in Engineering. Jim.
Oh, I'm good. First of all, thank you. I am deeply honored with this award. In the student union, there's some words up there that say we come to college not just to learn to earn a living, but to learn to live a life. And Iowa State did that for me as an undergraduate electrical engineer. Sure, I learned the technical stuff, and that was good. When I learned leadership, I found a wife, a lifelong partner. And so Iowa State did lots of good things for me, and I'm pleased to be part of it. Thank you very much.
Well, if you know Silicon Graphics, the technology icon that is known for pioneering the graphics computing machines, well, then you must know our next Hall of Fame inductee, Ed McCracken. He served as CEO and chairman of the board of SGI. Under his leadership, SGI grew from a little-known company of $3.7 million to $3.7 billion revenue, and became a joint for graphics machines at that time, and forever changed the concept of computing for video, images, and graphics. But before all that happened, you might be wondering that Ed must have received the engineering degree from a great program. And yes, he received his bachelor's degree in electrical engineering in 1966 from Iowa State. And in my humble opinion, that made all the difference. Ed went on to receive the National Medal of Technology and Innovation for his groundbreaking work in the areas of affordable 3D visual computing and supercomputing technologies, and for his technical leadership skills in building SGI into a global advanced technology company. President Bill Clinton appointed Ed as co-chair of a high-profile presidential commission on the future of technology in the US economy. Recently, his love for ISU has brought him and his wife Anna back to Ames, where Anna is pursuing her passion for writing, and they're also intensely involved in ISU Foundation and the College of Engineering. Ed, thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Iowa State, and thank you, Electrical Engineering Department. You know, when I was here, I wanted to be an electrical engineer until I took my first digital logic course, and then I wanted to be a computer engineer. We didn't have computer engineering then, but that kind of set my career. I enjoyed my time in Northern California, had a chance to work with some really amazing people, including Tom Whitney, and a whole group of other Iowa State graduates out there. And it's been a great time, and the foundation here at Iowa State was just right. Thank you.
Next, we have Dr. Joe Zambrino.
Good morning. It is my pleasure to introduce our next inductee in the inaugural ECPE Hall of Fame class, Alice Churchill Camerlengo. Alice Churchill Camerlengo was a pioneer. While breaking male scholastic records, she was the first woman to graduate in electrical engineering from ISU, where she received the Pi Mu Epsilon Calculus Award and the Phi Kappa Phi High Scholarship Award. She was the first woman engineer to be hired at the Pittsfield, Massachusetts General Electric plant, where she worked in the Power Transformer Division and High Voltage Laboratory. In 1937, the Albuquerque Journal Digest of Science and Invention stated that her experiments gave promise of developing along the lines of Nikola Tesla and others. Churchill Camerlengo was a trailblazer who empowered women to know that if little Alice could do it, they could do it too. And on a personal note, as our department continues to make strides and strive towards improving diversity and inclusion, it is just so amazing that we have this early trailblazing pioneer in electrical engineering so that all of our students in electrical, computer, software, and cybersecurity engineering can see now in Coover Hall. Here to accept her award is her family and Ginger.
My mother was an intelligent and remarkable woman. At only 5 feet, Alice Emerson Churchill firmly believed if you want to do something, just set your mind and you can do it. She was raised to believe gender should not define your dreams. Thus, she worked with her dad in the electrical field, went with him to meet with Charles Lindbergh, and flew in her dad's plane, the Yellow Canary. She pursued a career at Iowa State in the electrical engineer field, graduating top in her class. Then it was on to the GE in Pittsfield, Mass., where she became the first woman electrical engineer. It was here she met my dad. One day he offered to help her. She responded, "I took a man's job and I'll do a man's work." They fell in love, got married, and unfortunately, due to company policy and logic, she was forced to resign. She went on to have 6 children to raise, and that kept her pretty busy. Although she did not return to her true passion, she did still use her time and talents right up to 69 years of age. She enjoyed woodworking, building furniture, took aerobics classes, and belonged to a sports car club, writing articles, drawing the cover, and putting it together. She also did carpentry, wiring, still worked on her car, had a beautiful garden, and enjoyed many days spent with her grandkids. If I could give back to my mother just one thing, to thank her for sacrificing her career, this award would be it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ginger. Our next inductee in the inaugural ECV Hall of Fame class is Warren B. Boast. Warren Boast was an Anson Marston Distinguished Professor of Electrical and Computer Engineering at ISU and served as department head from 1955 to 1975. Together with Professor John D. Jack Ryder, Boast designed and built the first 10 gigahertz AC network analyzer, used commercially by many Midwest utilities. Boast and Ryder also designed ISU's electrical engineering building, now Coover Hall. And on a personal note, clearly it was designed with robustness in mind because 70 years later it still stands strong and virtually untouched since then. Boast authored 4 books and had several patents. He received the Faculty Citation Award from the ISU Alumni Association and the Anson Marston Medal from ISU. He was a fellow of the IEEE and the Illuminating Engineering Society, and he was president of the IEEE Education Society from 1970 to 1971. Today, an undergraduate teaching award at ISU is named in Boast's honor, now known as the Bose-Nielsen Undergraduate Teaching Award. And this evening is our honors and awards ceremony for faculty, staff, and students in our department, and we'll be awarding that award again today. And I can say as a faculty member in the department, when we have the opportunity to be recognized by our peers and by students in receiving the Bose, now the Bose-Nielsen Teaching Award, we're extremely proud, and that is something we compete mightily for. Here to receive the award on his behalf is his son, Charles.
I have to say, preliminary, I'm very hard of hearing. I didn't understand a word of that, so if I repeat it, let me know, or if I'm too loud or too soft, you people in the front row, give me the... I want to thank you all for, in my father's name, for this Hall of Fame honor. During many visits to Ames, both before and after my father died, because my mother lived on in Ames 17 years after him, I talked to a lot of double E's, and I think the source of his fame lies in the way he was a department head. The words that I heard over and over were kindness, fairness, openness, and most of all, support. And same thing goes for my mother. By the way, when Warren Boast arrived in Ames in 1934, he met a smart and beautiful woman who was a secretary in the double E department. And that led to a marriage and 3 sons, Richard, myself, and Tom. Tom couldn't be here because he couldn't be here. He was very busy last weekend with his daughter's wedding. But we did have a Grand Boast reunion last weekend where we talked about this award a lot, and believe me, it goes down to the children, the grandchildren, and the great-grandchildren who appreciate what Iowa State did for my father and for, well, I got my PhD here, for me too. Thank you.
Next up, I'd like to introduce Collins Ntawali. He is the president of the Iowa State University chapter of IEEE.
Gerald Jerry Pasaconi. Jerry served in the Navy on a submarine, the USS Rancador, during World War II. He went on to earn a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from Iowa State University in 1949. He then traveled to Boulder, Colorado. It was there that he met Jane and married in 1961. While in Boulder, in the early 50s, he began as the lead engineer in ultrasonics diagnostic imaging research. His pioneering contributions to the field of ultrasonics, medical diagnostics, ultrasound, and non-destructive evaluation technologies have been internationally recognized and applauded, forever changing the field through the development of a transducer design. Jerry was presented the IEEE Honorary Membership Award in 2009. After retirement, he consulted throughout the world on non-destructive testing and enjoyed using his laboratory privileges and consulting at a non-profit organization called Battelle until he officially turned over his badge in the fall of 2014. Through the years, Jerry loved the outdoors, whether he was in his garden, on a ski slope, backpacking, riding his bike, or just sitting on the deck and warming up in the sun. My name is Collins. I'm the president of International Institute of Electrical Engineers, the student branch here at Iowa State, an international professional association for engineers. And it is my esteemed honor to welcome Gerald J. Pasaconi into the ECPE Hall of Fame on behalf of his family. Thank you so much.
Next up, Dr. Julie Dickerson.
Thank you. It's my privilege to welcome Dr. Peter Leppert to our ISU ECPE Hall of Fame. He had his BS degree from the EE department in 1974 and then he went on to Purdue University to get his MS and PhD in electrical engineering. He has had a very long career in the field of MEMS and microacoustics. He has had integrated circuit product development experience with a number of companies, Monolithic Sensors, Gould Electronics, Corporate Research Laboratory, and McDonnell Douglas. But his most recent position is the Vice President of Research and Development of Knowles Acoustics, where he leads the development and commercialization of Knowles silicon microphone, and he's created the first MOS-based microphone circuits that are used in 80% of all hearing aids, which I, for one, am profoundly grateful for. He has received the ISU Professional Achievement Citation in Engineering, and he's been awarded many patents in microelectronic circuits, devices, and processes, and he assures me that there are many more in the pipeline. So we have more to look forward to, and with that, Dr. Leppert? Ah, there you are. Okay.
Thank you very much. When I entered Iowa State, I was also lucky enough to be admitted into the honors program. That meant that Ed Jones ended up being my advisor. Somewhere along the way, while we were talking about picking courses, I lamented that it was hard to pick between hardware and software. And Ed pointed out that in the honors program, you didn't have to make that choice. And so I chose both. And after a 4-year stint here, I ended up with a degree in electrical engineering and a BS degree in computer science. By the way, being in the Science and Humanities College as well is terrifying to an engineer. Placing myself between disciplines became a theme of my career. I ended up in MEMS. MEMS is microelectromechanical systems, making sensors and actuators out of silicon. Every day in MEMS, I spend time physics, chemistry, chemical engineering, mechanical engineering, material science. I work with fluid flow, thermodynamics. I design integrated circuits. I develop processes for integrated circuits. I still design embedded circuits for test systems. And of course, I write lots of software yet. Placing myself in this role, I have the unique position to look at complex problems and break them down into simple pieces that my team and I can then solve. And that led to the invention of the first commercialized silicon microphone that we call Sisonic. I imagine that every one of you in this room probably has one of my microphones with you, because they're in everything. Of course, you can buy them at DigiKey, but they're in every smartphone. Silicon microphones are in hearing aids. They're in laptops, tablets, earbuds, smart speakers, all sorts of Internet of Things. In fact, as of this month, we have produced 15 billion silicon microphones. So that's nearly 2 microphones for every person on the planet. It's been a great career, and it was well-founded in the education I received at Iowa State. So thank you to Iowa State. Thank you to Ed Jones for getting me launched on a career path. And thank you to the department for this honor. Thank you very much.
Next up, I'd like to invite Dr. David Giles.
Thank you, Sarah. Good morning, everyone. The next inductee into the Hall of Fame is Richard H. Stanley, and it's my pleasure to say a few words on behalf of him. Richard H. Stanley, also known as Dick to his friends, was a Bachelor of Science Engineering degree recipient in 1955. He's a recipient, he had a long distinguished career, and he was a recipient of later in his career, ISU Anson Marston Medal and it's the namesake of the Stanley Chair in Interdisciplinary Engineering. In 1956, he created the Stanley Foundation, which focused on fostering world peace with freedom and justice. As a professional engineer, Dick spent his entire career with Stanley Consultants Incorporated, providing engineering service worldwide. He served as the president of the Iowa Engineering Society and the American Council of Engineering Companies of Iowa. He was awarded the Hoover Medal by the Hoover Medal Board of Awards, the Distinguished Award from the American Council of Engineering Companies, and the Herbert Hoover Centennial Award of the Iowa Engineering Society. So this was a great achievement. He had a wonderful and successful career at Iowa State. I had a great pleasure to meet him a couple of years ago. He passed about a year ago. And it was interesting when he talked about interdisciplinary engineering, he really meant interdisciplinary engineering. I thought he was going to tell me, well, interdisciplinary engineering means electrical engineering working with mechanical. But he meant we should be working with medical engineers and all of the above. And so his concept of interdisciplinary engineering, I think, was quite unique. It was my pleasure to hold the Stanley Chair in Interdisciplinary Engineering for the last couple of years and interacting with Dick up until his death. Thank you.
Please welcome Alexis Quartz. She is the president of the Digital Women.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alexis Quartz. I'm a junior in software engineering, and I'm honored to be here on behalf of my club at Iowa State Digital Women. Today, I'm presenting the award to Howard Otto Lorenzen. He was known as the father of electronic warfare. In his 33-year career at the Naval Research Laboratory, or NRL, he led the Galactic Radiation and Background Program, the earliest successful American Renaissance satellite, and the first electronic intelligence satellite. He was the NRL's first superintendent of electric warfare, and he led the development of defense equipment for naval aircraft to guard against guided missiles. He helped develop America's first portable radar equipment, and his electronic countermeasures research helped immensely during the Cold War. In 2010, the U.S. Navy named the USNS Lorenzen, a missile range instrument ship, after him. Howard took his electrical engineer degree at Iowa State and made very innovative strides to bring America to victory during the Cold War. And I'm very honored to accept this award on his behalf.
I just want to add a short note that after many months of effort of connecting with Howard's family, finally yesterday, I received a FedEx package from his daughter saying that they had some mail communication problems and they got the notification late. So they have joined us, I think, via a web link. And unfortunately, they would not be here, but they really appreciated the opportunity. Thank you.
Please welcome Dr. Namrata Vaswani.
It gives me great pleasure to introduce Professor late Jim W. Nilsson. He got his MS in electrical engineering in 1952 and his PhD in electrical engineering in 1958. James Nilsson served in World War II before attending Iowa State, where, as a faculty member, he taught electrical engineering coursework for nearly 4 decades. One of the most prominent and celebrated teachers in the department's history, Nilsson often used computers to create animated models of solutions of equations as teaching aids in his courses. An IEEE fellow, Nilsson earned the prestigious IEEE Undergraduate Teaching Award. He wrote several textbooks. His classic textbook on electric circuits was one of the most widely adopted books in the field for over 2 decades. He received the McGraw-Hill Jacob Millman Award and the Standard Oil Outstanding Teaching Award. Unfortunately, no one from his family could be here, so I'll have Jim.
Please welcome Dr. Nathan Neihart.
All right. So it's my pleasure to introduce John D. Cosgrove. He earned his Bachelor of Science degree in electrical engineering in 1956, after which he went to work as a junior engineer for Collins Radio Company, becoming vice president and general manager of the defense division. He later went on to become president and CEO of the company, then named Rockwell Collins. I think now it's Collins Aerospace. And then I also heard that they're merging with Raytheon, so we'll see what they'll be called next year. And after his retirement, Rockwell Collins created an ISU endowed scholarship in his name. And this is kind of where I know his name. I work with Vicki in our student advising services to award these scholarships. And so we run across this name a lot as we're awarding these scholarships. I know a lot of students really appreciate the effects of these scholarships. He served on many boards across ISU. He was a governor of the ISU Foundation Board and received the Alumni Association's Distinguished Achievement Citation. And he and his wife, Dilla, were named Parents of the Year in 1986. And as the father of 2 kids, I'm going to make sure they're aware that that award exists. And Cy's favorite alums in 1987, as well as being members of the ISU Order of the Knoll, President's Circle, and the Campanile Society. So I would like to welcome John into the Hall of Fame.
One advantage of working for Collins for so long, I never had to write a resume. And thanks to my family up here, they've been very important for me. You know, a couple of things that came to mind when I worked, I had several axioms that I would follow, and they were kind of kept my career going. One was, when the employees quit complaining about the parking lot, be careful, there's something big out there. It isn't good. The second thing is, always take time to talk to the administrative assistants and the executive assistants, because they really know what's going on. And with that, Sarah, thank you very much for your help. Dr. Kohar, thank you very much.
In case you had problems parking today, he brought half of Iowa. Next up, I'd like to welcome Lee Harker.
Good morning. I'm Lee Harker. I'm a member of the ETG support staff for the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering. It's my honor to introduce Bob O. Evans to the Hall of Fame. His friends knew him as Bo Evans. Bo Evans was a computer pioneer who led the development of compatible computers that changed the industry. At IBM, he led the team that developed the System 360, an entirely new approach to mainframe computing. The System 360 was the first total family of compatible computers and the first that enabled different applications to run on the same system simultaneously. I think he might have been a little bit of a visionary, thinking that it's possible to be annoyed by Facebook on one computer and also on all the other computers that you know, that you were around. Former U.S. President Ronald Reagan honored Evans with the National Medal of Technology in recognition of his work on the System 360. Later, he was presented with a Computer Pioneer Award from the Computing Society of IEEE. Evans was an IEEE Fellow and a member of the National Academic Engineering Organization. It's my honor to welcome Bob Evans as a member of the 2019 inaugural class of the Hall of Fame.
Dr. K.
I'd like to introduce Dr. Zhao Yu Wang.
Hello, everyone. I'm Zhao Yu Wang from the Electrical Power and Energy System Group in the ECPE department. So it's my great honor to introduce our outstanding alumni, Dr. Alham Makran. So she received a master's degree in electrical engineering in 1978 and a PhD degree also in electrical engineering here at Iowa State in 1981. So before she joined Iowa State, she has been working in Egypt as a power system engineer for many years. So Alham had a career spanning industry experience and power system planning and academia representation as a distinguished professor of power engineering and director of the Electric Power Research Association at Clemson University. Her work was in the fields of computer modeling and simulation of power systems, renewable energy, power system quality, distributed generation, and smart grid applications. So her work is very well known in the general field of power and energy society. She received the Clemson University Alumni Award for Outstanding Achievement in Research, the NSF Faculty Award for Women Scientists and Engineers, and the SWE Distinguished Engineering Educator Award, among many other honors. She's also a fellow of IEEE, so it's let's welcome her to be one of the member of the Hall of Fame for this year.
So, Dr. Makram was supposed to be here. She unfortunately had a small accident and broke her toe. So she has joined us via a web, and she will say a few words. But on her behalf, we have Dr. Fawaz Fanous, who is going to accept the statement.
That's great. Thank you.
I am. Can you hear me? Yes. I'm deeply regret my absence of such a great ceremony. I'm extremely honored to receive the Hall of Fame award. It means a lot to me and brings back my memory after 40 years graduation. When I saw the snow first time in my life, through the window coming from Egypt. I thank you for everything. Thank you for this award. Thank my family and friends for their love and support. Actually, today is the anniversary of my late husband, Dr. Adley Gerges. He died on October 10, and he also graduated from Iowa State University. You probably, most of you know him. Thank you again. and enjoy the rest of the ceremony. Thank you, Dr. Fenous, for accepting the award.
Next up, please welcome Alex Carpenter, the president of Eta Kappa Nu. Oh, there you are. I don't see any bodies moving.
Hello, everyone. I am the president of the new chapter of IEEE Eta Kappa Nu here at Iowa State. It is my pleasure and privilege to present the next member of the inaugural class of the Hall of Fame. Dr. Wendell Sander is known as the father of the Apple III computer. During the 70s, Dr. Sander became the 16th employee of Apple Inc. after impressing Apple co-founder Steve Jobs by demonstrating a Star Trek game on the Apple I computer. He was later hired to work on the Apple II. Sander went on to design the Apple III and then to help work with several Silicon Valley startups. He later returned to Apple to work with his son, Brian Sander, 1985 Iowa State electrical engineering graduate and a director at Apple. The father-son team worked on the iPod and iPhone circuits, including the volume control on the Apple earbuds. Before working at Apple, Wendell Sander spent 13 years at Fairchild Semiconductor R&D Laboratory as a department head, where he developed some of the first semiconductor memory component systems. He's received over 100 patents for his outstanding innovations.
I want to thank the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering here for this award and for giving me the training I needed to do the things I did. My major professor for my graduate degree, Dr. Pohm, is here in the group as well, which is very good to see him. I want to also give a thanks to my wife, who could not be here today, but for supporting me at times when I made some rather risky career decisions without getting too upset with me. And I want to also acknowledge my son, Brian. Brian and I worked together at many companies over a long period of time. He started out, he worked for me, and when I got through the career, I was working for him. So I also want to acknowledge the experience of growing up in rural Iowa. I learned many of the skills and work ethics required to do what you have to do Silicon Valley startups that were very similar to the same problems you face when you try to run a family farm. And I found that to be a very good training ground. And I want to thank the department.
Please welcome Dr. Jim McCulley.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm Jim McCauley. I'm a professor in electrical and computer engineering, and I hold the London Chair of Power System Engineering, which gives me some credibility to introduce to you Paul Anderson. Paul served in World War II in the Army Air Corps before enrolling at Iowa State College. He got his bachelor's in 49, his master's in 58, and PhD in 61. After graduation, the first time, I think, he worked as an electrical engineer for Iowa Public Service Company. And then he returned to ISU as a faculty member and helped to establish the Power Affiliate Research Program. We now call it the Electric Power Research Center, and it lives on. He created power engineering as a specialty here at Iowa State, particularly of graduate study, and in doing so started the Midwest Power Symposium conference that was held for many years. He's well known for 7 books that he authored on electric power and energy systems engineering. He was an NSF Science Faculty Fellow and an IEEE Fellow, and was elected to the National Academy of Engineering for his contributions. So I was not Paul's student. I did my degree at Georgia Tech, so I was not his student in a formal sense, but I was very much his student in an informal sense because I read and reread his 7 books that he published, and I still read them. Indeed, one of them is in my hands here. It's just been revised by myself and Vijay Vital, who is going to be inducted later on in the ceremony, and another author, Aziz Fuad, will be inducted. Really, it's in the experience of sort of studying that material constantly, day in and day out, that I began to appreciate and understand Paul's sort of dedication to detail in one sense, very comprehensive and complete in everything he did. His understanding of very difficult and complicated concepts, engineering, material, and so forth, was beyond measure. And most of all, he was really gifted in his ability to communicate what he understood to other people, a trait that certainly bode well in the university environment where many students were able to take advantage of that. So I'm just really pleased to be here and recognize Paul for that. I think his family is here. His sons, Jim, Tom, Bill, and Mark, are here to accept the induction on Paul's behalf. So, Jim.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this honor. I am one of 4 sons, as he mentioned, that's here representing Paul and his legacy. We're all very proud of our dad and his varied accomplishments in the electric power research field. We're very honored that he was chosen to be in the inaugural class of the ECPE Hall of Fame. Upon our dad's passing, Dr. Anjan Bose, also an ISU grad, wrote that the reason we have a reliable source of electricity when you turn on the light switch is due in no small part to Paul Anderson. And Dr. Aziz Fuad, another inductee into the Hall of Fame, wrote that Paul was a visionary who felt that for electric power to be viable in the university, research had to be an important part of the electric power program. These quotes are a testament to the respect he earned amongst his peers and the impact he had on the field. While our dad's accomplishments are extensive and well documented, my brothers and I simply knew him as a smart, hardworking father and role model who was always there and willing to help with our math homework. He also enjoyed walking to work and had perfected the art of taking a daily nap to recharge his batteries, and I try to emulate that myself. Our dad also played in the marching band, sang in the barbershop quartets while at ISU, and at home he enjoyed playing the piano. As he aged and developed dementia, our dad never lost his love for music. He would often be heard singing songs that he could recall from his heyday. And one of his most beloved songs to sing was the ISU fight song. Thank you.
Next up, please welcome Dr. Dikong Chen.
Okay.
Oh, no, sorry, you're next.
Aziz?
Never mind.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Let's make sure
Forget I
that.
said that.
Okay. Paul Anderson was connected at the hip with Aziz Fuad for a long portion of their career. In the late 50s, early 60s, these two individuals started what we now call the Electric Power and Energy Systems Program, and many of the traditions and the essence of the culture lives to this day. So Paul and Aziz did a lot together. Besides write books, they visited many utilities, had many research projects, wrote many papers together, and were just amazing two people. And it's just a great pleasure to have the opportunity to induct both of them back to back here into the ECP Hall of Fame. So Professor Fuad also did a master's degree from University of Iowa. I should mention that. With gritted teeth, but he did his PhD here at Iowa State. He was a pioneer in the field of power system dynamics and stability. His contributions to academic research, collaboration between academia and the power industry, and early explorations of technology and social change. Amongst numerous recognition, he was elected to the National Academy of Engineering. He received the Anson Marston Medal from the ISU Alumni Foundation, and he was a fellow of the IEEE. He co-authored 2 widely read books and taught multiple classes, including the creation of industry-oriented power system engineering courses linked with computer applications. He co-founded ISU's Power Affiliate Research Program, later known as the Electric Power Research Center, and many other things during his tenure here. He was, Aziz was really a mentor to many people in the department throughout his career, and a number of those individuals are here today, actually. It's quite amazing. He's an extraordinary scholar and teacher, and he was sort of a leader in the industry and as well in the academic environment. Indeed, in 2014, we had the occasion to honor him with a symposium, and a large number of people came from all over the world, former students, former colleagues, both from academics and industry. And if I might just have one more minute, I'd like to read to you from an excerpt from one Tony Michel, who I think is with us, and it's interesting from that point of view. You may recall, Tony said to Aziz, that one time I tried to convince you to publish one of our papers in IEEE Transactions on Circuits and Systems, since the IEEE Circuits and Systems Society was getting interested at that time in electric power. You were skeptical, since in your opinion a paper on power systems would not be accepted by IEEE Transactions on Circuits and Systems. In fact, it took a bet for a drink to convince you to submit the paper to the transactions, and I'll never forget the evening when you showed up at our house on Dover Drive in Ames, dressed as a waiter, and presented me with a cocktail, making good on the wager which you had lost. So, because Aziz's family was unable to be present, I am accepting the award on his behalf.
And now, please welcome Dr. Degong Chen.
Good morning. My name is Degong Chen, and I have the honor to introduce Jerry Jenkins, who is a longtime CEO, President, Chairman of Texas Instruments. And he has served as various capacities, and I would say that the most important thing is that during his tenure at TI, he really introduced the strategies that transformed TI from an instrument company into a worldwide respected semiconductor giant. And that's how TI is being viewed today. And in that process, he also transformed the semiconductor industry and significantly improved the competitive position of the U.S. Semiconductor companies. And so he was elected to the National Academy of Engineering, and he received the Anson Marston Medal. And I have never had the opportunity to meet Jerry Jenkins, but then I have the honor to hold the Jerry Jenkins chair position. And when I go to different places throughout the world, to Japan, to China, India, Germany, of course, the US, companies and university, I always get the question, is that Jerry Jenkins, the famous Jerry Jenkins of TI? I say, yes. And they said, wow, I'm impressed that he's your alumnus. And So last semester, I had a guest speaker in my undergraduate class. And the first opening sentence that he said is that ask the students, please look left, look your right. One of them may become another Jerry Jenkins. And he said that was what my professor told me when I was a student, and that was what motivated me to become a CEO. So that's what he said to my class last semester. So Jerry Jenkins has been a bright name card for our department, for Iowa State University. And he has been a constant aspiration and motivation for our students and for our faculty members. So it is my honor to welcome Kirsten to receive the award on behalf of Jerry.
Thank you for being here, and thank you, Iowa State. Like many of us, we lost our family members too young, and while we think of them daily, it sure warms your heart to know that somebody else still remembers them. It feels really good. He wasn't famous to me. He was just Dad. He worked hard. He, like a few, got his Iowa grounding here in Southeast Iowa. He worked hard. He had a hard work ethic. He had a lot of passions. First and foremost was his family, my mom and my sister and I, and his extended family in Southeast Iowa. The other was T.I. T.I. took a great piece of his heart. He left here, Mom? June 13th, June 14th, after they were married in '59, and started his career at T.I. in July, and spent the rest of his professional career there. His other love was education, and that was as equally as important as anything else. He worked hard for his education. He wanted that for everyone. He wanted everyone to have the opportunity for an education. He was humble to the core. He would not like to be the recipient of an award, but I think today would be a little bit special. To be back in Iowa, to be back at his home roots, his alma mater, and Iowa State, where his love of engineering, education, started his path on his successful journey. So thank you very much from all the Jenkins girls. We appreciate everything.
Please welcome Dr. Diane Rover.
Hi, I'm a professor in electrical and computer engineering, and it is a truly special honor to introduce and recognize Edwin C. Jones, Jr. Where's Ed? There you are, Ed. So I actually first knew him as Dr. Jones, my teacher in my first digital logic class back in 1981. Since then, I have come to know him as Ed, as a mentor, role model, colleague, and friend, not only to me, but to educators around the world. I'll never forget Dr. Jones bringing breadboards to class with TTL chips, wires, LEDs blinking, showing us how digital logic works and how impactful that was. I was an undergraduate in computer science at the time, hadn't ever really seen hardware, and he would pass those around the classroom. As a mentor to many in engineering education, Ed has continued to shed light on how the profession works, helping thousands of us, students and faculty, in their professional development. Let me share a few items from the citation, just so you get to know Ed a little bit. He earned his bachelor's degree from West Virginia University, then studied abroad at Imperial College London, spent 2 years of active duty as lieutenant in the U.S. Army Signal Corps, then earned a PhD from the University of Illinois, where he began his academic career, and then he came to Iowa State. And Ed's career as a professor at Iowa State has spanned from 1966 to 2001, with the distinction of being named a university professor in 1995. He is known for his passion and leadership for improving engineering education. You already heard a shout out to him about his service with the EC Honors Program. He did serve as the academic advisor for 20 years, and some of those honors students established the Ed Jones Scholarship. He has been deeply involved in organizations serving engineering education throughout his career. Those include ABET, the IEEE, especially the IEEE Education Society, and ASEE, the American Society for Engineering Education. He has received the highest level awards from those organizations for service, and then also as a fellow of those organizations. Let me add that Ed collects slide rules as a hobby. So if you have one sitting, in a box at home, see Ed, help him out with his collection. Congratulations, Ed.
Thank you, Diane, and thank you, Peter, for those kind remarks. The advising of students like those two and many, many others, wonderful career. My first visit to Ames was about 65 years ago. I represented West Virginia University Tau Beta Pi chapter at the National Convention, which was held here in Ames. Coover Hall was just being completed, and I have a picture of the delegates on the Beardshire steps. As I look back, memory stayed with me, and ISU was an early place for me to consider applying after I finished my PhD. I joined ISU in 1966, had a wonderful career, just making so many memories. And then the faculty here, the staff here, the students, the city of Ames, the state of Iowa. But I will have to confess one thing. I was quite surprised when my alma mater, West Virginia, was included in the Big 12. I'm going to have a problem on Saturday when they meet in football. No, I'll pick the one who's ahead. Fair enough. I and my family, including our daughter Kathy, who is here today, is an ISU graduate. Thank you for this recognition. Thank you for a wonderful career, and it's been wonderful. Thank you.
Please welcome Dr. Doug Jacobson.
Good morning. So it is my honor to introduce Kathy Ingholm. I've known Kathy for a few years. We went to school together, and we won't say how long ago that was. And we were students together on IEEE student branch together. Kathy, after graduating, went on and got a real job. She spent 33 years at Tektronix. She was hired to work at what she calls her dream job, which was to develop a first portable digital oscilloscope. Majority of her career was involved designing test equipment. She worked on many different platforms, and that earned her the titles of Principal Engineer and Tektronix Master Inventor. She worked actually on six major programs throughout her time. She earned over 20 patents for work in digital signal processing, measurement algorithms, and data visualization. And it is one of her other honors is she's part of a great graduating class of a few years ago. So again, my honor to Dr. Kathy.
Thank you, Doug, and Dr. Kokar and Sarah, and the entire team working so hard on this new institution and today's events. Congratulations on arranging this wonderful event to celebrate the department's success in living your motto, the future is what we do. I had many great professors here. I'll say just a few examples of their support. Dr. Tom Scott made me feel welcome as a second-year transfer, showed me how to beat test anxiety. M&M's, Kleenex. Dr. Shea patiently reviewed Field's concepts with me until I finally got them. Dr. Comstock Chip hired me to grade papers in my final year, so I didn't have to get another bar or fast food job. And Dr. Burns advised 4 of us on a grant project that helped me get my dream job with Tektronix, because it was some real design work on exactly the kinds of circuits I'd be designing in my job at Tech. Iowa State has prepared 3 generations so far of my family for our futures, starting with my parents, Ken Engholm and Barbara Engholm. I couldn't be more grateful for our Iowa State educations or any prouder of my family members. 3 of them are here today. My sisters Jill Hughes, Carol Mills, and my husband Jeff Earls. Thank you for being here.
So it is my deep pleasure and honor to be able to introduce Art Poem into the inaugural class. Art Poem co-invented magno-resistive random access memory, a revolutionary computer technology. He received many patents for inventing different types of magnetic storage elements. Art basically knew everything about magnetic memories. As a faculty member, which is how I got to know Art, he developed a program to improve electronic research and education in the ECE department, resulting in an affiliates program in solid-state electronics. This program, led by Poem, established a graduate education and research program in solid-state electronics. Poem was elected as a fellow of IEEE for his significant contributions in the development of thin-film magnetics as computer memory elements, and for his inspired leadership as an effective researcher, teacher, and mentor to young faculty. On a personal note, as I said, I've known Art for over 40 years, I guess. First, as a teacher, I had him in several classes. Later, as my PhD advisor. Then, I was honored to be a colleague of Art's. Art served as a mentor for most of my, for a lot of my career. Basically, I really do owe my career to Art and to the other faculty, but especially to Art. I don't think I'd be here today if it wasn't for Art. So, Art, thank you.
When you get to my age, you realize that you're only a temporary caretaker of the small region of world you live in, and the job is passing on to the following generations. But part of our job has been to essentially take the accumulated knowledge and wisdom and pass it on to the following generations. And also, hopefully, add to that knowledge, building on the knowledge that others have done. What that means is that we never do this alone. We've always had many, many people help us during the course of our career. So I want to thank the department for this honor, but I also want to thank all the people who've helped me along the way. And that would include the people who came before, my family, my teachers, the people in the department, the college, the university, and in fact, the general public. So thank you.
Okay. Next up, please welcome Dr. Tom Daniels.
I appreciate the one clap. So I left a room full of 200 sweating freshmen taking an exam to come here. And let's face it, this field that we're in requires a lot of hard and dedicated work and reasons to go on. I think I'd like to thank everyone here for being the topic of an extra credit assignment where I've assigned them to profile a few of you. And my hope is that that inspires them to work hard, to see what they can do. The inductee I'm really honored to present today is Robert L. Martin. He had a bachelor's degree in 1942. He was an ISU student and learned to fly here, and where he joined the Army Air Corps after graduating and went off to fly in World War II, where he has been quoted as having said he flew 63 and a half missions. That's because he was shot down and evaded capture and managed to return on VE Day. He served with the Tuskegee Airmen, the first African Americans to fly, and eventually helped integrate the U.S. Armed Forces, at least the Air Forces. He received the Distinguished Flying Cross, the Purple Heart, the Air Medal with 6 oak leaf clusters, and the Congressional Gold Medal. After his honorable discharge in 1945, he was promoted to the rank of captain in the reserves. Now, many companies were not hiring black engineers at the time, and so he became a draftsman with the Chicago Park District, and he went on to a 37-year career where he rose from street lighting engineer to electrical design engineer. He encouraged others to pursue aviation and engineering, and unfortunately, we are a little over a year too late to have him here with us today, but I'm honored to have his sisters here, or his daughters here, to accept the award.
Good morning. I'm Gabrielle, his oldest daughter. I think my sister Dominique and Noelle are here today with us. We have a brother who couldn't be here, and unfortunately our mother passed just this past February. But if Dad were here today, he would light up this room with his megawatt smile. He would say thank you, and he would humbly ask, why all the fuss? That was Dad. But changing the world is the fuss. So thank you to this university for staring in the face of racism, admitting black students long before it was popular. Dad had to rise above many adversities to earn that engineering degree and that pilot's license, but he used them to change the world. He faced down racism to get into the Army Air Corps program. He faced down adversity in hostile skies over Europe to bring back many of the freedoms we enjoy today. After the war, he came home, couldn't find a job, but he fought his way to a professional engineer's license and his job with the city, where there are still designs in their cabinet that are being implemented today, because his career lit the city and Chicago, city streets and byways of Chicago. But Dad had a lot of other passions. He liked to golf. He loved his kids. He loved all his nieces, nephews, and grandkids. But important to him was illuminating a way for others. So he tutored young black students in math and science and told them that despite your adversities, you need the opportunity to achieve your dreams. He encouraged them to pursue careers in engineering and aviation, to take flight and to shine their light on our world. So to the department, thank you for this honor. which will stand as a beacon, lighting the way for others to rise above adversity and help change our world. Finally, to Dad, thank you for lighting the way. We'll remember you always. Thank you.
Pass the Kleenex. Okay, next up, please welcome Dr. Randy Geiger.
It's my great privilege to recognize Bob Brayton. Bob received his BS degree from our department in 1956, and then a PhD degree in mathematics from that school on near the West Coast, MIT, in 1961. Bob spent nearly two decades at the prestigious IBM T.J. Watson Research Center. And at a time when most people are thinking about retiring, he decided to take a tour into the easy life and become a faculty member. For the last 3+ decades, he's been a member of the faculty at University of California at Berkeley and has developed one of the top programs in the physical design area. Bob is a fellow of IEEE, a member of the National Academy of Engineering, a member of the American Association for the Advancement of Science. He received the ISU Outstanding Alumni Award. At MIT, he worked in artificial intelligence, an area that has been receiving lots of attention in the last decade or so, but he was kind of at the forefront of a lot of that work. But Bob is probably best known for his work on logic optimization and synthesis and formal verification. Virtually everyone in this room carries a part of Bob in their pockets. If you look at the CAD tools and the strategies for building digital circuits that are in your electronic equipment, Bob had a key role in the development of that technology. Bob grew up in Ames and is part of the Brayton Seeds family, a family that played a key role also in the development of hybrid corn in the area. As a faculty member in the EE department, I, along with my colleagues and students, spend lots of time in the Brayton Room. The Brayton Room is a modern room in Vancouver that's much different than the other rooms that we heard about earlier that haven't changed in the last 7 decades. So we express our gratitude for Bob and the Brayton family for the support they've provided as well as forming the Brayton Room. Let me introduce Bob Brayton.
Well, thank you to this department for the great honor of being part of the inaugural Hall of Fame. And actually, I got here in this department about 70 years ago. And at that time, there were no computer science departments. There was just a smidgen of transistors that are being taught about, and certainly no integrated circuits and things like that. So as we know, all these things kind of came together, and I was lucky enough to have interest in all those areas, and I simply rode the wave of technology innovation all my career, which almost is 70 years long. So I brought my own cheering squad here, and my 2 brothers and their wives and my wife are sitting here somewhere. There they are. Let's cheer. 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 No. Anyway, thank you very much for this great honor.
Well, I'm honored to be able to introduce the second recipient this morning as well, Tunç DeLuca. Through his contributions as a top-notch circuit designer early in his career, that led to the development of several key products at Maxim Integrated, along with his skilled leadership of Maxim for the past 12 years as president and CEO. Maxim has emerged as one of the largest manufacturers of analog ICs in the world. Tunç and his brother both received degrees in EE from Iowa State University to start their careers in the microelectronics field. Tunç and his wife Lily have been generous in their support of the ECDP department through the creation of the Tunç and Lily DeLuca Professorship. I'm honored to have been able to include designation of this professorship on my business card and on my correspondence for several years. Though we are honored to have Tunç and Lily with us today, much like what goes on during the evening talk shows, we might view his visit as the inauguration of a book tour for some of his key developments in the microelectronics field and the role Maxim Integrated has played in that development. So with that, an introduction to Tunç DeLuca and a book tour for the book Maximum Impact.
All right, well, thank you. Actually, it's a great honor. I thank the department for actually doing this. I think that I truly appreciate it. And I think that one of the things that I realized when I was walking in, I saw Professor Nilsson's names in the chair right in front of me. And he was the professor that actually got me interested in circuit design. And I really appreciate him and other faculty members that helped my education here. So I want to thank my wife. Many career decisions. We've been married for 37, I could get myself in trouble here. 37 years, and I really appreciated that. But I kind of was thinking about last night driving from the airport. 43 years ago, I'd taken that same drive. A stranger in a strange land because I was 7,000 miles away from home. But the university gave me a great education. I ended up doing a lot of circuit design, as you mentioned, and some of them were successful. Some of them were not very successful, but I guess the average worked out, and the company did well. We had a lot of employees that benefited from it, and I'm proud of that. So thank you again for the great honor.
Please welcome Dr. Ratnesh Kumar.
Hello and greetings. I'm Ratnesh, part of the ECP and the Cyclone family for the past 17 years. The longest I've been in one place other than where I grew up. And so often I wonder that my journey and how I'm now connected to our next inductee. It is my great pleasure and honor to introduce our next inductee, Murray J. Harpole, to our inaugural Hall of Fame. Murray is a 1943 graduate of our electrical engineering program. Murray began his career with the Manhattan Project and served as project director in the development of the Alvin research submarine. Later on, in 1966, he became one of the 5 founders of Pentair to manufacture research balloons. He was named Pentair's first chairman and CEO and remained in that position for 15 years and served another 5 years as chairman, ultimately retiring from the board in 1991. So that was 25 years from founding to retirement. By this time, Pentair had become a global smart water solutions provider which currently has a market capitalization of nearly $6 billion and employs around 10,000 employees worldwide. Murray, as well as his wife, have supported ISU in many ways, including the service on the boards of the ISU Foundation and the Electrical Engineering Advisory Committee, through a leadership gift for the renovation of Cooper Hall. So maybe there is some work there. The creation of the Murray and Ruth Harpole Graduate Fellowship, and also of the Murray and Ruth Harpole Professorship in Electrical and Computer Engineering, of which I am the current holder. For his achievements and contributions, Murray received ISU's Professional Achievement Citation and also the Anson Marston Medal. In 1992, following his retirement from Pentair, Murray wrote the book, Living the American Dream, Pentair, Inc., The First 25 Years. The book is an inspiring read for everyone with interest in entrepreneurship. I have a copy of it. With this introduction, I take the opportunity to invite Murray's family members that are here to receive the honors on his behalf.
I'm Dave Harpole, Murray and Ruth's younger son, and joining me is my younger sister, Jan Jessen. Thank you. As ISU alumni ourselves, it's a special honor to participate in this Hall of Fame induction ceremony today. We, along with our mother Ruth and siblings Ken and Kathy, feel privileged to accept this Hall of Fame award on behalf of our father Murray. He would be honored and humbled to be receiving this award today. For him, having grown up on a family farm in southern Iowa, Iowa State and his degree in electrical engineering meant so very much to him.
Dad has a plaque on the wall of the alumni and friends outside of the Iowa State Alumni Center, and the personal message that he chose to include on that plaque simply says, ISU, Gateway to a Full Life. He felt strongly that Iowa State had prepared him for success and satisfaction in his career and in life. Giving back to the College of Engineering and the university was important to our parents, and they are forever grateful for a successful and satisfying life that allowed them to do just that. So on behalf of the entire Murray Harpole family, our sincere thanks and appreciation once again for this special award. Thank you.
Please welcome Dr. Jingda Wang.
I'm a professor in the communication and signal processing group of the department. It's really my great honor to introduce Jean Britton. Jean H. Britton was a founder and CEO of Calimetrics, a company dedicated to the development of quantitative MRI test objects. Previously, she was a senior scientist at the University of Wisconsin. She also spent 13 years at GE Healthcare's Applied Science Lab, ASL. While at ASL, she founded the ASL West Facility and the Research Group and was a chief scientist and manager of a scientific team that collaborated with leading academic researchers to develop new MRI applications, some of which are part of a GE product and are used in patient care worldwide. She completed her MS, PhD, and postdoctoral studies at Stanford University. She was granted 19 US patents and was elected a fellow of the International Society of Magnetic Resonance in Medicine. So it's really my great pleasure to welcome Jean Britton to the Hall of Fame.
I'd like to thank Dr. Kokar and the committee for this distinct honor. I have to say I am profoundly humbled to be part of this group of inductees who are so impressive. So many people have helped me in my life and career. I'd like to thank a few of them. My parents, who supported me every step of the way. My sister, who led the way to this department. She actually graduated in 1980. This faculty and staff at ISU who are here when I was here, several of which made a profound difference in my life. I'd like to mention Mary Thompson, who led the Engineering Career Center at that time, and she convinced me to give engineering another chance after I had an internship that wasn't a perfect match, and convinced me that it was a very broad field, and helped me to discover the part of engineering that is my love, which is the combination where engineering and medicine meet. So really owe a lot to her. I'd like to thank Dr. Steve Russell, who's here today, who helped me so much in my applications to graduate school and the fellowships that enabled me to go there. I'd like to thank my PhD supervisors, Dr. Dwight Nishimura and Al Makovsky, as well as my mentor, Dr. John Pauly, who is also a graduate of Iowa State. So Iowa State continued to influence my career even after I left. And I'd like to thank my husband and my sons, Scott and Jack Reeder, who were so sorry they couldn't be here today. But the connection continues. My husband has an engineering degree from Canada, and he also used Dr. Nielsen's textbook in his degree. And I am now using that textbook to teach my son circuits, which is because he's doing Science Olympiad. So the connection continues. So once again, thank you so much for this profound honor, and I am truly humbled.
Please welcome Dr. Manimaran Govindarasu.
Good afternoon. My name is Manimaran Govindarasu. I'm a professor in electrical and computer engineering. I research and teach in cybersecurity for critical infrastructures, in particular the electric power grid. It is my honor to introduce the next Hall of Fame inductee, Dr. John Ryder, who received PhD in electrical engineering in 1944. After working at General Electric, Dr. Ryder joined the Iowa State WE faculty. He authored 7 textbooks in the fields of electronics and circuits. With the former department chair, Warren Bost, who is also another inductee today, Dr. Ryder constructed the AC network analyzer that power utilities use to simulate entire transmission and generating systems in the United States. This relationship resulted in Iowa State having more electrical engineering doctoral graduates employed in industry than any other institution during 1950s. Dr. Ryder was instrumental in designing the Iowa State Electrical Engineering Building, now the Coover Hall. He was also a fellow of the Institute of Radio Engineers, and he served as the president of Institute of Radio Engineers. Subsequently, he also served as the Dean of Engineering at Michigan State University. In recognition of his contribution and impact in engineering field, Iowa State College of Engineering has established the John Ryder Professorship in Engineering in the college. When you go to Coover Hall, you will see a big banner hanging which celebrates the 100-year celebration of Iowa State history. In that one of those milestones, the AC network analyzer, you will see them. With that, thank you. I welcome Dr. Ryder's family to receive this honor.
My father, Jack Ryder, thoroughly enjoyed his time at Iowa State. He came, as mentioned, from industry. He wanted to teach, and in order to do so, he had to get a PhD, so he got one. And he enjoyed teaching students throughout the years. He was here at a really exciting time. He worked with many of the names, Couvers, we knew the Couvers, we knew the Empire State Building event. These were all family friends. So it's a very exciting time in the development of engineering. He, World War II was over there, and then it wasn't. And he was at the far end of the age limit for draft, but they kept him here. He was deferred because he was teaching engineering in a very, a field that was important to the armed services. Soon Ames was up to its gills in young men being prepared with engineering skills to go to serve the country. People lived in, they housed students in basements and spare rooms of the populace. After he worked with the engineering experiment station here, he did enjoy designing, helping Coover work with the design of the engineering building. He carried that interest in architecture on to Michigan State, where he helped, as dean, he helped design the new engineering electrical building. He was from Iowa State, he went to Illinois, and one of my remembrances is that he came home and talked about a computer chip that would fit in your hand. At Michigan State, he talked about the fact that students were going to have computers, calculators. They were not computers, they were calculators. Every student was going to have a calculator. Did we allow them into the classroom? So he was at the forefront or in the mix of some very exciting times. Coover, Bose, these names here. Other people, other names of buildings here on campus. They were our family friends. So it was a great time to be an engineer. Thank you very much.
Please welcome Dr. Philip Jones.
Hello, my name is Philip Jones. I'm a professor in the Electrical and Computer Engineering Department. It is my honor to introduce Anthony N. Michel. He was a professor at Iowa State University for 16 years, from 1968 to 1984. He spent 7 years in the aerospace industry and was the department chair of the Electrical Engineering Department at the University of Notre Dame, eventually becoming the dean of their College of Engineering. He authored 12 textbooks and was a visiting professor at several universities in Germany and Austria. He is an IEEE Fellow and served as the president of the IEEE Circuits and Systems Society. He has received a number of awards, some being the IEEE Centennial Medal, the IEEE Golden Jubilee Medal, and the IEEE Third Millennium Medal. He was also named a foreign member of the Russian Academy of Engineering. With that, it's my pleasure to welcome Professor Michel into our
It is a very high honor to be inducted in the Hall of Fame of such an esteemed department, and I thank you very much for that. I came to Iowa State University over half a century ago, and I was educated in a much smaller department. And so before I came here, I was apprehensive of being drowned out in an impersonal large department. And what I found instead was a community of very welcoming scholars. And I ended up staying here for 16 years. One of these scholars that I would like to recall is Grover Brown, who was heading the control systems group in those days and became my unofficial mentor. Grover would nudge me every which way to keep me on a straight path. And another person that I would like to recall is Dick Miller, who was probably the foremost applied mathematician at Iowa State University at that time. And I had the privilege of working and collaborating with Dick for a couple of decades. Now, my years at Iowa State University were arguably the most important years in my professional life, and they certainly defined the remainder of my career. But just equally important in those years were what the community in Iowa State University did for my family, my wife, Leon, who's here, and my son, John, and my daughters, Mary and Kathy. 4 of our 5 children went on to receive Iowa State degrees, and a son-in-law, who's also here, went on to receive an Iowa State degree. And our oldest child, she went to the University of Iowa. They did not have nursing at Iowa State. Thank you very much.
Please welcome Dr. Ahmed Kamal.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's my great honor and pleasure to introduce the next inductee to the Hall of Fame, Dr. Richard Richards. Dr. Richards received his bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from our department in 1943. He also participated in the ROTC while on campus here. After graduation, he joined the Army Signal Corps, and he was stationed in India most of the time. And then after coming back to the US, he went to the MIT to obtain a doctoral degree in theoretical physics. After graduation with his doctoral degree, he spent 7 years at IBM. Although he was trained as a theoretical physicist, he played a key role in developing fundamental concepts that enabled IBM to emerge as a leader in the commercialization of digital computers. And this helped form the underpinning of basic concepts used in the computer industry for decades. Dr. Richards was awarded 28 US patents. He also dedicated many years to authoring college-level textbooks focusing on the operation of computers, including the textbook Arithmetic Operations in Digital Computers. His statement that the ancestry of all electronic digital systems appear to be traceable to the ABC, the Atanasoff-Berry computer. This was key evidence in the court case that recognized the Atanasoff-Berry computer as the first digital computing device. It's my honor and pleasure to accept this award on behalf of Dr. Richards' family. I'm sorry, it's miscommunication.
have to say, I'm Beth Richards. I'm RK's daughter, and I'm a graduate in engineering, although mechanical, from Iowa State. And my two siblings are also Iowa State grads, so we're big Cyclone fans. I have to say, my dad would just get a huge kick out of this, because he, after 7 years working for IBM, he said it gave him stomach aches to work for a corporation. So he left and wrote textbooks on his own, and he gradually got into farming. And so he spent the last, 40 years of his life farming his family land in Hardin County here. So he's a little bit of an outlier, I think, to be at an event like this. But anyway, I just want to say thank you to the department for this honor. As I said, he would get a huge kick out of this, and our entire family is very grateful for the honor. Thank you.
Thirty 33 minutes behind. Please welcome Dr. Ajarpu. And this is our last inductee.
Good afternoon. It is the last but not the least. My name is Venkatramana Ajarapu. I am a faculty member in Electrical Power and Energy Systems Group that Vijay belongs when he was here. It's very great honor for me to introduce Dr. Vijay Vittal to this Hall of Fame award. I know him since a long time. And actually, Vijay and Fuad, another Hall of Fame awardee, recruited me into the EPS program. Thankful for them, and I was honored to be part of this group, actually. So Vijay, I can talk a lot of things, good things about Vijay, but the lunch will be late. He is a well-known expert in power system stability. If you talk about in power system stability anywhere in the world, Vijay's name comes first. So he did a lot of analytical work, and also one of the interesting things they did is basically sometimes we do just analytical work, but actually they implemented in practical test systems in the Ontario Hydro and other big power systems to validate their analytical results. So that's a very great achievement he did. And also he is very energetic, actually. I don't know how he can do that. He did a lot of things. He is the PSERC director for 13 universities. He manages very well and keeps everybody honest, and also he is very perfectionist. I can set time with his schedule. He's very, very out. I really appreciate him to follow his schedule. And also he got a lot of awards. He's a member of National Academy of Engineering. He's a fellow of IEEE. And also he's not only good researcher, also good educator. He got IEEE Power Engineering Educator Award. So he is all of the, he can, unique human being you can look up to. And one more thing, his son, we can claim, is also our power system group. He graduated with a MS degree from Iowa State University. So he influenced his son also to go into power area. So that's a great achievement, actually, to influence your children to go into your own area. So again, Dr. Vijay, it's honored to introduce you.
So I'm between you and lunch, so I'll be brief. This is a great honor to get this award. I came here as a PhD student from India in 1979, graduated in 82, and at that time I was the first PhD student to be hired as a faculty member in the past 20 years. So they had not hired any of the students. And Aziz Fuad was my advisor, and both Aziz and Tony Michel were my mentors when I started my career, did a lot of work with both of them. And that story Jim McCauley told you was a paper based on my PhD dissertation, which got accepted in the Circuits and Systems transactions. I have very fond memories of starting my career here. I worked here until 2005, so I stayed at Iowa State for 25 years, now at Arizona State, and I'm very, very grateful and thankful for having received this recognition. Thank you.
So one thing I must add with this last, presentation that I was told yesterday that when Vijay was here and he got elected into NAE membership, and there was a ceremony by the president, and the president came to him and said, his job depends on keeping him at Iowa State. So I think our president was not successful. Anyway, I think this basically, wraps up our presentation of all the awardees. It is a tremendous honor for us all of you to be here. And as I said earlier, that each one of you has made us very proud in your own ways, and every one of you has left a deep mark for the profession and for our state. With that, I'm going to invite Dr. Jim Milsa. On behalf of all the inductees, he would like to share some remarks with you, and then we'll culminate it.
It's always difficult to be the person who stands between you and lunch, so I'll try and be brief. I am deeply honored to be a member of this inaugural class of ECPE's Hall of Fame. I believe I speak for all of us in saying that we are humbled and gratified. Thank you very, very much to the department and the selection committee and so forth. You may be wondering how I got selected to do this job. Here's the true story. Ashvac, who was in charge of selecting a speaker, called me a month or so back and said, you need to select a speaker. I know you know many of the people who were in this class of honorees. Who is the best looking person in that group? I gave him my answer. A week went by, Ashvac called me back and said that person had declined. So the next question is, who is the smartest person in the group? And I thought a little bit about that one, and I know we're all very smart. I gave him my selection of the name. He said he would call that person, called me back saying the person had also declined. So then he said, who is the most articulate person in the group? And again, I thought, gave him the name. Ashvac said he would call the person. Well, after I'd been called 3 times, I felt I finally had to agree to do the job. So that's why I'm here. I have no other reason. One of my favorite pieces of poetry is The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. In it, there's a line that reads, I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. We have all faced decisions like that many times. And of course, we can never know whether we made the right decision. Based on the success of your careers, it's clear that many of them were the correct ones. Sure, we can all agree that the decision to become electrical engineering faculty or students at Iowa State made all the difference. In my case, I know it literally transformed my life. May you live in interesting times. While purporting to be a blessing, some in fact think that it is an old Chinese curse. Whether you think it is a blessing or a curse, and like it or not, indeed, we live and have lived in interesting times. Let me give you just a few examples of things that have happened during our careers as electrical engineers. I'm sure that each of you could compile a much more comprehensive list. Many of us were born about the time that John Nassau and Clifford Berry gave birth to the first digital computer right here at Iowa State, as we have heard. The digital computer, along with its alter ego microelectronics, and we've heard about that here, born of the transistor at Bell Labs and other places, have truly transformed our lives. Each advance in one technology drove an advance in the other. This was an Olympic sport where the goals were faster, smaller, and cheaper. Today we have computers on our desks, in our washing machines, in our ovens, in our cars, and most of us carry at least one around. It'll come out. There may be more than one in there. By some estimates, before the year 2050, which is getting close, not for me, but a $1,000 computer will equal the intelligence of all the people in the world. Now, the intelligence level may be going down to help that, but in his wildest dreams, John Nassau and Clifford Berry could never have imagined this revolution. Interesting times indeed. I can still remember the first time that I saw a television picture. The set's black and white screen was just slightly larger than an iPhone, and it was so fuzzy that it was hard to tell whether it was boxing or wrestling. That's about all that was on at that time. Today we have TVs that are the size of walls with brilliant colored HD pictures and soon to be 3D, and in fact the 3D is probably here. Originally we might have had 2 or 3 channels. Now we have 200 or 300 or maybe more, brought by cable, helped by one of our alums, as you have just heard, a satellite, or internet. Yes, we have lived in interesting times. Many of us remember the old party line phone, which required one to crank in a code to reach the other party. When you did reach them, you could be sure that a few of your neighbors would be listening. Long-distance calls were almost impossible to make and understand, and at a cost that few could afford. Today, we think nothing of using our cell phones to call anybody, anytime, any place, at no extra cost. Facebook, Twitter, texting, and instant messaging allow us to be in constantly contacted with people around the globe. And indeed, people can reach us at any time, in any place. I'm not sure that's progress. Maybe that's part of the curse of living in interesting times. The first land-made satellite, Sputnik, orbited the Earth in 1957. On July 20th, 1969, and we all celebrated that, we held our breath while Apollo 11 landed on the moon and Neil Armstrong became the first human to step onto the extraterrestrial body. Today, we think nothing of looking at satellite pictures from Google Earth, weather pictures taken from space, and using GPS systems driven by a satellite system to navigate our cars. And by the way, who answered all those questions that we pose to Google every day? Interesting times. All of the above examples serve to illustrate Arthur C. Clarke's third law that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. Even Dick Tracy's wrist radio was a poor version of the communications we now have. Imagine what you would have thought while at Iowa State if faced with today's array of technology. However, it might have been neat to be able to find term paper information on the internet rather than going to the library. But then how would we have been able to meet our future spouses? I, for one, think that living in interesting times is a blessing, and we have indeed been privileged to live in them. Thank you very much.